Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
All right, let's do this. Welcome to the Recher podcast here on a Wednesday, August 13th. You think I should probably know the date, but every day when I'm about to crack the mic, I just totally forget what the date is every single time. Oh, well, but we're here and we're talking all things Tampa Bay sports. I hope everybody is doing just having an absolutely wonderful day, whether you're here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad. As always, we want to hear from you. We'll get to that in a second, but follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I'm everywhere, baby. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Let's get those subscribers up. Plenty to get into today on the program, man. The list of guests that we have for the rest of this week, it is incredible. We'll have the great Rich Hollenberg joining us at 12:15 today to talk all things Rays, break in, break through, the latest cohort that he's got. At 1 o'clock today, Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. We have a new name for the Tampa Bay Lightning Arena. We will discuss that. I want to hear from you on that. Some people are bent out of shape. Some people don't really care. But that is why we are here, and we are live with you today so we can talk about that. We've got a new name. It's no longer Amalie Arena. So really, really good stuff there. We'll also talk some Buccaneers football as they practice today up there in the Steel City in Pittsburgh before the joint practices tomorrow with the Steelers. Who are some of the players that we're keeping an eye on, not just in the joint practices tomorrow, but also preseason game number 2 on Saturday night. 2 of 3. Cannot wait to see. I mean, I'm ready for the regular season already. I don't like preseason. I'm not a huge preseason football guy because it's just like, all right, good. Let's get to the main event here. And it's about every sport. I'm not a huge preseason hockey guy. I don't really like spring training baseball. Just give me the good stuff. Give me the good stuff. No appetizers, straight entrees, baby. All right, let's get this show on the road right now because it seems like there is a ton of feedback we've gotten so far from people here in the Tampa Bay area. There is a new name when it comes to the arena that the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be playing their games, and the new name is Benchmark International Arena. Let's go watch the games at the bench. Going to the bench to watch the Bolts? I mean, it makes sense. Let's go watch the game. I originally was like, oh, let's go watch the game at the BIA. That doesn't really roll off the tongue. So I think going to the bench, I know some people are saying, well, let's go to the mark. I mean, bench is the first word that you hear. So out Amalie Arena in Benchmark International Arena. Your thoughts on the new name, and I want to hear some video. I want to get some video feedback today. Here's the link. If you're pissed, if you don't think it's a big deal, I want to hear from you. There it is right there. StreamYard.com/HIX74J2CQQ. What are your thoughts on the new name for the arena that the Lightning will be playing their games? And of course, we know there's a lot of other things that go on in that building when it comes to concerts and WWE events and UFC events. So I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the new name? Do you absolutely hate it? StreamYard.com/HIX74J2CQQ. Just click on the link in the chat. Whether you're on your phone, you can do it there. Whether you're on your laptop, you can do it there as well. Just click on that link and you can join us here on the program. Shout out to David Terry. That's right, a new name at Amalie. Chris Cole letting us know Big Watson doing some sprints today. Okay. Benny, thank you for the kind words. Anthony, he's not having it. Terrible name. Just bring back the Ice Palace. He is not happy when it comes to the new name. Again, new name, Benchmark International. Benchmark International Arena. And I was looking up Benchmark. If you go to benchmarkintl.com, that website is very, very thorough and in depth of what they do. This isn't just some, easy website, like, oh, a little bit here, a little bit there. I mean, you go here, I'll show you guys. Might as well. You saw Rush there. Hey, Nathan Elliott, what's going on, pal? Look at the website. This will give you everything you need to know about Benchmark International. These guys are not messing around. I mean, look at all the different things there. Okay. Now, this is a mergers and acquisition company. So these are for big businesses all around the world that are looking to, these are people and businesses all around the world. Are you looking to buy a business? Are you looking to sell a business? Are you looking to merge with other big companies? This is big time. 14 global offices. Just look at their team. Like, these look like a bunch of badass people that you don't want to mess with. Benchmark International. You look, over $12.5 billion of deal transaction value. And then just look at the bottom of the global team, executives, deal makers, open positions, buyers, sellers, industries that they're involved with, the offices in Amsterdam, Austin, Texas, Cape Town, Cork, Denver, Dusseldorf, Johannesburg, LA, Manchester, Nashville, Oxford, Stellenbosch, Stockholm, and right here in the Tampa Bay area. So Benchmark International, the Benchmark International Arena, get used to the name, because that is what is going to be the name for our new arena here in the Tampa Bay. Well, it's not a new arena, but the new name for our Lightning home for hockey, and also for so many different events here in the Tampa Bay area. Your thoughts on the new name? Again, if you want to join us, click on the link there in the chat. Benchmark International Arena. No more Amalie Arena. Our guy Nathan Elliott. Screw the new arena name. I will never, ever say it. Oh, come on. Bart Hill. What's up, Jay Bird? Janet Best. I know you're paying attention. I'm an old school PIA. I'll still call it Amalie. And our guy Dolan, what's going on? I got to tell you something. And this is just my 2 cents on the entire thing. Does it really matter to me what the name of the arena is? No, not at all. I don't care. I don't care what the name of the arena is. And for people that get all bent out of shape about the arena and the name and the owners, let me ask you this. Does anybody know who the owner of Amalie Oil is? Did anybody during the entire time the Lightning were winning the Stanley Cup or losing in the playoffs, did anybody have anything to say about Amalie Motor Oil? No, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter. Who cares? I mean, good for them. This is way above our pay grade. I don't care what you call it. You could call it the Swiffer Jet, Bath and Body Works, Nike Uptown Midair, Tupelo, Mississippi Vodka Company Arena. I don't care. Who gives a crap? Is that more important than what the Lightning are doing on the ice? No, I don't care what they call the damn arena. So it doesn't bother me at all. And listen, if it bothers you, then, hey, I mean, just call it the bench or just say I'm going to the Lightning arena. I don't know. It's just way too many things to bitch and moan about in this world. This is not going to be one of them. Shout out to David. You sound way better. Thank you, pal. I still not 100%. Yeah, Dolan, it doesn't matter what the name is. You can call it the Ice Palace. Just win. That's all that counts, right? Some people call it, you want to call it the Tampa Bay Times Forum, St. Pete Times Forum. Call it whatever you want. As long as they call it a team that houses the most successful team in the NHL, that's all I care about. Jake says, hey, I thought it was. There you go. It's still the Ice Palace. It's real to me, damn it. Richie P, what's going on, pal? Good to see you. Let's see. I like that Amalie was a local company headquartered in Tampa. I get that, but I just mentioned too, Benchmark International, it has one of their places here in the Tampa Bay area. Now they're all over the world. Again, Amsterdam, Austin, Cape Town, Cork, Denver, Dusseldorf, Johannesburg, LA, Manchester, Nashville, Oxford, Stellenbosch, Stockholm, and Tampa. So they're all over the place. At the end of the day, I don't see what the freaking big deal is. Like, it's not your money. It's not like they're going to force you. You got to say this name every time. No, just call it the bench and move on. Nate Elliott, the new name is just too long-winded and it is a mouthful. I'm not upset about it. Just to want to say that long-winded hot mess, you don't have to if you don't want to, Nate. You can still support the Lightning. And that's the thing, is it's not that you have to say the name, right? It's not like a prerequisite. Like, where are you going? I'm going to the Lightning game. Everybody knows it's that Amalie and now the bench. Who cares? It's not that big of a deal. They're going to be playing a game at Raymond James Stadium. Watch out. I'm going to see the Lightning. There you go. There you go, pal. Richie P still calls it there. David Terry, I'm with you, Jay. Who gives a damn? Not to mention Lightning just benefit with the payday. They made millions on the new name. You're right. I still say I'm going down to the cash and carry. Yeah, I mean, for stuff like this, it's one day we talk about it. One day we talk about it and we go, oh my gosh, I can't believe this name is so long. And you look at some of these, remember the Staples Center, and I can't believe they're calling it the Staples Center. Now it's going to be crypto.com. What a tragedy. Man, like, at the end of the day, does that matter? No, what matters is LeBron James and Luka Doncic and the Lakers. If they don't win a championship, who cares where they play? Everybody's so stuck on certain things. Man, I feel like we get so wrapped up when it comes to when it comes to sports, like, oh, the sanctity of the sports. We don't want to ruin the image. Or listen, man, we watch sports and we consume sports as an escape from reality because we're trying to have fun, right? This is what we love to do. We love supporting our athletes and our teams, right? At the end of the day, like if something like the name of the arena they play in, if that's what's going to piss me off, bro, I got to look in the mirror. I got to kind of figure out where the hell my priorities are at. Because if I'm getting bent out of shape because it's Benchmark International Arena, I should probably do a podcast on politics instead. It's not that big of a deal. I really don't think it is. Let's see what else. Christopher Cole, you're all over the football today, pal. The Browns QB room is all banged up. Shador Sanders injured his oblique today. Oh, man. Oh, man. I get a new name tag. Look at our guy, Danny G, Dan Geary. Dan is one of those people that works inside of the arena there at Amalie. He's the buffer to make sure that if you want to get into the arena, Dan Geary, or excuse me, if you want to get into the locker room, Dan Geary is like that last guy. He is the ultimate. He's the guy standing there with his hand out like, all right, let me see that badge. And it doesn't matter who you are, former player, front office guy, you better have that badge ready. And you better know that Dan Geary is not just going to let anybody go into that locker room. I love it. There you go, Benny. Who remembers Joe Louis Arena? We need more arenas named for great athletes and people. That's never going to happen. Never. I'm telling you. You think something like Benchmark International is an exception to the rule? No. You're going to see this more and more and more as the years go by. You're not going to see Joe Louis Arena. Why? If you're an organization in hockey, you're an organization in these other sports, and you can sell the naming rights to your building for millions and millions and billions of dollars, you're going to do so, and it's not going to stop. We see this a lot when it comes to sports. And look, you're not going to go backwards. There's not going to be less advertisements. There's not going to be less money put into these things. You want to see these sports continue to grow. You want to see these TV packages and these contracts to these players, and they continue to go north. I mean, there's just going to be more money piped in to these teams and just these sports as a whole. So you're not going to see a Joe Louis Arena ever again. Every single stadium going forward, in my opinion, is going to be sponsored in some way. Why would you not? I mean, think about it. If you're going to be able to, you're in a business. You're trying to make money. You want to make money. You're selling the naming rights. Tropicana Field. Tropicana is a company. The next field, the next stadium for the Tampa Bay Rays, it's not just going to be Rays Stadium. It's not going to be Rich Hollenberg Stadium. I mean, it probably should. I mean, if we want to honor anybody, I think Rich Hollenberg is the way. That's the guy right there. If we want to honor him. Honest Hammer, our guy checking in. Sorry, I'm late. What is the new name? Benchmark International Arena right there in downtown Tampa. And, of course, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. Make sure you hit that QR code. He is the main sponsor right here on the Jay Recher podcast. All right, let's bring him in. He's our good pal. We get a little bit smarter every single time he joins us on the program. The one and only, breaking in and breaking through with our pal, Rich Hollenberg. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
How could I possibly live up to your idea of naming the new stadium after me. I don't have a check to stroke that is close to big enough for that.
You agree with me though, right, Rich? Like, I don't think we're going backwards.
No.
We're only going forward. There's going to be more and more sponsorships. And man, I forgot what it was the other day, but it was the first down. It was the 1st and 10. And even the 1st and 10 graphic on the screen is sponsored now. We're not going backwards. We're going to keep going forwards.
No, you're absolutely right. Remember, it was just only a couple of short years ago that they started putting advertising on uniforms too.
Right.
And everybody was up in the air about that. And now you just get used to it. It's life in a 24-hour news cycle, right? On to the next controversy, on to the next hot take, on to the next topic. So we'll get used to the new name. It's not Amalie anymore. I remember when it was the Ice Palace.
Right.
I remember when it was the Thunderdome before it was the Ice Palace. So just be happy that we existed in those times and can fondly remember those times. And progress is progress.
You got that right, buddy. And I want to ask you about that because we know that with your cohort coming up, break in, breakthrough, there's still one spot remaining, correct? Or is it filled?
I mean, yeah, I like to. I don't want to be disingenuous about it. But I hate saying we're sold out, because things happen, life happens, and people drop out at the last minute. And I don't want to begrudge people who might sign up a little bit later an opportunity to jump in. So anytime I would post a sold out banner, I would get burned by it, and someone would have to drop out. No fault of their own, but we usually try to cap it at a dozen people. We are over that right now, but I'm still taking on all comers just to see how big and how great we can make this.
RichHollenberg.com. Go check out all the information on there. I mean, it's incredible the work that Rich has done for current and future and these aspiring broadcasters. And before we talk Rays, I want to ask you about that, the balance of the entertainment value and the information. Because Rich, to be completely transparent and honest, like I even doing this as long as I've been doing it, I still find that balance of, I have to make sure that I'm entertaining and get that aspect of it because I'm a geek and I'm a nerd when it comes to the information sometimes, right? And talking about every sport and just one or two. And I'm not the hot take guy. I'm not somebody, and you know that. I'm not a guy that's just going to say something to say something. Like if I say something, even if it's against the grain a little bit, I've researched it, and that's what I truly believe. How do you kind of communicate that to your students and say, hey, like, there is that fine line, there is that balance between entertainment and information? Because I think if you go one way or the other and that's not who you really are, it comes across as disingenuous, and I think it can backfire big time.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack, so I'm glad we have the time to do it today. First off, let me start by saying I feel very confident I could speak for your entire fan base, of which I am part of, when I say, a la Billy Joel, we love you just the way you are.
Thank you, my friend.
By the way, shout out to that Billy Joel and So It Goes documentary on HBO Max. Phenomenal.
Oh, God,
if you haven't seen it, and even if you like Billy Joel and don't love him like I do, got to watch it. Got to invest the 5 hours or so of the 2 parts. It was amazing. But back to what you asked me, and this is what I would say. I always say, and I don't think I'm the first, I'm certainly not the only one to describe it this way, we are in the edutainment business, right? The goal, ultimately, is to entertain while you are educated, or vice versa. Right. You want to educate while you're entertaining them, one or the other. You want to educate while you're entertaining, or entertain while you're educated.
Right.
They both lead toward the same goal, which is one word that I tell everyone who I mentor: access. That's what we provide as sports broadcasters, you, me, anybody who's in this business. We provide access to our audience. Most people, fans, don't get to speak to the head coaches, the general managers, the players, all of the principals of the sports that we are fanatic about on a regular basis like we do. Not all of us as fans have the best seat in the house. literally or figuratively, at any sporting event that we want to go to. You and I have sat together in the press box at Raymond James Stadium. And look, I'll only speak for myself when I say there are still times, and I've been in this business for 30 years, there are still times that I'll kind of look around and go, holy crap, I can't believe that this is what I do and I get paid to do this. I have the best seat in the house. So it's a literal and a figurative thing. You want to ultimately provide the audience with access. And you do that by entertaining them and educating them with stories, with anecdotes that you've heard, with information, to your point, that you have gleaned from the people who are the experts, whether it's the players, the coaches, or even an analyst who you're working next to, which I do a lot in baseball season and in basketball season. So that's what that is one of my initial charges to my troops, to the alumni and to the current students in the Break-In and Breakthrough program. I say never lose sight of the fact that you need to be an authority on every topic you talk about, but you also have to be accessible. You have to be likable. And I like to group things by alliteration. So I use those two words, authority and accessibility, because they're easier to remember. That's what the ultimate goal is. Those two A's equal the one big A, access.
Yeah, it's a great point. And what would you say? And I remember getting into radio 12 years ago now, and one of the big things was don't try to sound like somebody else. Don't try to, whether it was Mike and the Mad Dog or Colin Cowherd. What's that? Is that the same thing? What's the one thing that you see from young aspiring broadcasters when you look at them and you go, whoa, bro, like, what's the one thing that you look at and say, maybe you shouldn't do that. Try to create your own voice. Is there something, is that still the same thing, or is there something different now?
It is exactly the same thing. One of the things that I promise when aspiring sportscasters, either in high school, in college, or even in their first or second or third jobs in the business, sign up. I tell them, I will not promise or guarantee you a job, but what I will promise you is I'll show you the roadmap to unlock the most authentic version of yourself. And that's what you want to be on the air. I liken it, Jay, to, you know how much I love food. I liken it to being a chef. You can talk to any chef, any 5-star Michelin rated chef, and they'll tell you it's not what I've done. It's the inspiration that I've culled from all the great chefs before me. Someone once said, and I'm going to butcher this comment, pardon the pun, but someone once said in the food business, there's only a few recipes. Everything else is riffs off of those few recipes.
Right.
And it's true. And it's the same thing for sportscasting. There is nothing wrong with saying, oh my gosh, I love Chris Russo, so I'm going to borrow a little bit from him. Oh my gosh, Colin Cowherd's dynamite. I'm going to borrow a little bit from him. Jim Nantz, he's my favorite. I'm going to take a little bit from him. And you take all of those and you have your own sensibilities and you mash it all together and roll it up. And that's who you are as a sportscaster. So there's no ripping off, because if you do, people will see clear through that. And you'll look like a poser. And then you're not authentic. But if you borrow little things from Ian Eagle here, from Joe Davis there, from Dave Mishkin here, from Gene Deckerhoff there, then you combine all those things and it becomes who you are. And hopefully you have the longevity that people just get used to you, because it was the great Red Barber, one of the godfathers of this business, who said, not everyone has to like you. They just have to get used to you.
Yeah.
And that's what being a sportscaster is.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And, you know, as we transition to Rays baseball here, one guy that I've gotten used to and have really liked is Junior Caminero. I mean, listen, I know the Rays are going through it right now, but on this day last year is when he got called up. And I think he's played 158 games since then. And this is a guy that's hit over 30 home runs and driven 99 runs batted in the 158 games. as far as when you're looking at a guy like Junior Caminero, has he reached your expectations? Has he exceeded them? Because I just watch this kid and I go, man, he's a damn good baseball player. And I'm just glad he's here with the Rays.
It's hard to say, Jay, that he's exceeded expectations just for the simple fact that he was the number one prospect in all of baseball when he got called up. The number one prospect in baseball. So this is a guy who had a lot of expectations heaped on his shoulders. What I will say is I think how expeditiously he did this is exceeding expectations. I don't think anybody would have balked at taking a season from Junior where he hit 250 or 260 with 22 bombs and 80 RBIs. That would have been a really good first full season in the big leagues for a kid who's 22 years old now. He has far exceeded that, obviously, numbers-wise. The other thing that I will say is at the beginning of the season, a lot of chatter behind the scenes was, yeah, sooner than later, Junior's going to be playing on the right side of the infield. He's not a third baseman. His offense is too valuable to have him worry about playing the hot corner. All of a sudden, I mean, he's not a Gold Glove caliber third baseman, but I will put the caveat to yet at the end of that statement now, because he has made some eye-popping, head-scratching plays at third base. And if for no other reason, it shows you what a tremendous athlete and what tremendous instincts he has. When he combines that with the work ethic that we've seen already from him, I think he could be a staple at third base and continue to produce offensively, and that would be music to the ears of the Rays organization.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And listen, when you look at the pipeline for the Rays, I mean, they're not hurting for players there at first base, so I wouldn't be so quick to get them on the right side of the field either. And you see Big Bob and all the home runs he's hitting in AAA, and Xavier Isaac and Morgan, and it's just that's a good spot for Tampa Bay. Chandler Simpson's another guy, Rich. When you watch him, it's not just, all right, he's a good baseball player. There's something to that entertainment value of every single time that guy is even on deck, you're like, all right, here comes Chandler Simpson. And, he, in my mind, I mean, he's one of the most exciting players in the history of the Tampa Bay Rays, and he hasn't even been here that long. Right? I'm not saying he's as good as a Randy Arozarena or Kevin Kiermaier, but there's or Crawford and Upton, like there's an excitement level, and it's different when you have guys like that on your team. He's been such a joy to watch this year.
Yeah, and look, youth is not wasted on the young, as Mark Twain once said. Right? He's 24 years old. Junior's 22. This is the future now for Tampa Bay. And, you used a couple of examples, and they're good examples. Kevin Kiermaier being one. The thing that separates Chandler, even at this stage of the game, is his bat-to-ball skills. Because you now have a pretty wide swath of a sample size where you can see that instinctively and through his process, that's not going to go away. He'll go into slumps. Everybody does. But the bat-to-ball skills will not diminish, will not go away. Kevin Kiermaier, God love him. He's fantastic. He's a friend. He never had those kind of bat-to-ball skills.
Right.
What he had was a platinum glove in center field. And I think as of right now, if you ask me who are the greatest defenders in Tampa Bay Rays history, he's right up there shoulder to shoulder with Evan Longoria.
Right.
I don't think there's any doubt in that. But he was never an offensive force. And Chandler Simpson is almost the reverse of KK. He brings that excitement level, but he does it on the offensive end. He gets to first base, and you're almost like, that's as good as a triple. Because the chances are good that he could steal second and steal third. So that is terrific. And we've all seen the learning curve. I wouldn't even say the struggles. I would just call it a learning curve playing any of the outfield positions. He has to work on that, and he will continue to work on that, because if there's one thing I've gotten to know about Chandler, and I've spent some quality time with him, is that he is in this for the right reasons, and he's got a work ethic that is in his DNA. And so if he understands what his parameters are and what his limitations are, he's going to do whatever it takes to break through those.
Yeah, Junior Caminero and Chandler Simpson, two guys that really make you excited about the future of the Tampa Bay Rays, no doubt. And, when you look at this team, the pitching and defense is something that's been built on for such a long time. But it's just this year, look at the pitching. It's just at times it's just not the Rays. It's not that type of, all right, we know what we're getting with these guys. You look at the ERA, a lot more middle of the pack stuff, the whip middle. Where do you think it kind of went a little sideways when it came to the pitching? Because, you see guys in the bullpen struggling at times, and unfortunately the Rays moved on from a guy like Taj Bradley, who at 24, you thought he was going to be a part of the future. It just seems like the identity of this team that's been just the calling card for the last couple of years, it hasn't been there this year. What can you say is, maybe some of the reasons why that's, occurred?
Yeah, well, far be it for me or you or anyone from the outside looking in to have access to the data that the Brain Trust has, and you will not find a bigger Kyle Snyder fan than I am. I think he is the best pitching coach in baseball, and it ain't even close, and he has been for a long time. With that said, I think one of the things that has come back to haunt the Rays this year, and it's not necessarily all of their fault collectively or individually, it's that they don't have a quality left-handed starter.
Yeah.
Shane McClanahan on the shelf all season was that guy. And I think it's more than ironic that last night the Rays get shut-pieced by Jacob Lopez, a lefty who they traded to the Athletics, along with another lefty, Jeffrey Springs. And I'm not saying, you can't rewrite history. I'm not saying that deal won't end up being a win for the Rays. Like Eric Neander says, the best trades are when both organizations win. But here's what I will say. You can imagine, at least as a fan, what the rotation would look like if the Rays had those two guys. Jacob Lopez probably wouldn't have started the season in the rotation.
Right.
He would have been in trips, or he would have been in the bullpen. But now we see what he could do when you hand him the ball and you go, you're our guy every 5 days. He's had a terrific season. Jeffrey Springs, by the way, not to rain on his parade, hasn't. But still, imagine what those two options could do. The other thing I will say, and this is why I preface this by saying I still am firmly entrenched in the idea that Kyle Snyder is the best at his craft. I think the fact that this year they have leaned more on the starters and less on the bullpen in terms of innings pitched, in terms of all of the metrics that we use, I think that's obviously hasn't worked out the way they wanted it to.
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer for that. It could be age or lack thereof. It could be experience or lack thereof. Even a Drew Rasmussen, who's around 30 years old now, a veteran. Zach Littell, no longer on the team, a veteran. These guys haven't been starters all their careers, right? They've been on innings limits and pulled from the bullpen. And then you have Shane Baz, who's coming off a couple of surgeries, and he's still young. And then you have Taj Bradley, who didn't pan out. And then you have, obviously, the other pieces that you talk about, and you're like, oh my gosh, these guys look like they should be so good. What's wrong? I think it's, sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle, and sometimes it's thunder.
Yeah.
And in this case, I mean, when it's not going well, it's contagious. When it's going well, 25-9 for that stretch of 34 games, everything is going well. I certainly wouldn't pin this malaise on just the pitching, but I think the learning curve, and here's the final point I'll make on this, Jay, and I don't want to feel like I'm piling on the pitchers or on Kyle, but this race to 2 strikes, they're not the only team that does that. That's kind of been Kyle Snyder's mantra with all these pitchers. And all that really means is trust your stuff in the zone. Your stuff will play in the zone. Now, word is out. And all these opposing teams The other 29 teams in Major League Baseball know that. So all of their hitter meetings going into the series against the Rays, I could only guess that those hitter meetings are, look, you're going to get a ton of balls in the strike zone. You got to trust your instincts, but go up there aggressive, ready to swing.
Yeah.
And more often than we're usually used to, those swings are making contact and hard contact.
Yeah, and I look at a guy like Griffin Jacks, like I'm excited to see what he can bring, going forward. You have multiple years of team control. I think he's a candidate to be the next Zach Littell because he's a 4 or 5 pitch pitcher out of the bullpen. He's no spring chicken, but listen, Zach Littell was 27, 28, 29 when they made him a starter. And for a guy like Griffin Jacks, who's to say that they don't, Kyle Snyder gets his hands on him, gets him in the lab. Like, you can't put anything past Kyle Snyder in the Rays. Before I let you go, Rich, I want to ask you about kind of the totality of the American League. I'm watching some of these, teams out there and, flipping around these channels, and it's so ironic. Last night or 2 nights ago, Joe Girardi says something on the Yankee broadcast about like, oh, this is not a Yankee team that likes to take the extra base. And I'm like, this is coming from a catcher that hit a triple in a World Series game that couldn't run very well. And now you're talking about not taking the extra base. Like, oh, that's not what they do. Like, they're so top heavy and they hit home runs, they're going to win. And if they could play the Twins every night, they'd be 162-0. I don't buy the Yankees as the team that's, the elite of the elite. I look at a team like Houston, right, and playing the game the right way and bringing Carlos Correa back, right? I look at a team like the Tigers that really have invested in their young players and their young pitchers, led by Tariq Skubal. And, what happens in the East? Does Boston make a surge? Toronto's been fantastic. Like, which American League team do you trust down the stretch, I guess, outside of the race?
I don't trust any of them. Dude.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's crazy.
I really don't. I think there is a vacuum of mediocrity right now in the American League.
Why do you think that is, Rich? Why do you think that is?
On this season. What'd you say?
Why do you think that is? Why do you think there is that?
I just think it's happenstance. I don't think there's any reason. You certainly can't take all – look at what the playoff picture is like. If you're going to include the Rays still in that playoff picture, what are they, 6.5 out of the final wild card spot now? There's 5 teams ahead of them. Like, you're talking about 8 teams that are all bunched together. Is Detroit right now, I would say, and I would digress. I wouldn't put Houston in that bunch. I would say right now, if you forced me to, I would say the leaders to look out for, to chase down come September, are going to be Detroit, and I'm going to say the Boston Red Sox. I'm not going to say the Blue Jays. I haven't had a ton of faith in them for years. I look at what they did to make that surge when they did, and I'm like, yeah, the Rays did the same thing, just at a different time in the season. It's all going to come down to, and Major League Baseball loves this, it's all going to come down to who is the hottest, who is the healthiest come the last 2 weeks in September. It's going to be an absolute horse race. And you could take your pick of maybe 5 or 6 teams, and whoever represents the American League in the Fall Classic, I'll be like, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and they're going against the Dodgers pretty much. I mean, there's some good teams. And listen, the Brewers haven't lost since Trisha Whitaker's out here eating pocket pancakes with their coach, Pat Murphy. So, I mean, that's a fun story down the stretch.
And don't sleep on the Phillies either.
Yeah, the Phillies got a lot of talent. And we didn't mention, I mean, Seattle goes out there. They go get Naylor and Suarez at the deadline. And, you add that to Julio Rodriguez or Andy Rosarina, Kyle Raleigh. The Mets? My grandma, big Mets fan. She's the one that I really ask. Grandma, how they look? And she goes, they can't hit. And I go, Grandma, that's a problem. She goes, when you have Soto, Lindor, and Alonso and you can't hit, she's like, that's a problem.
Shout out to Tampa's Pete Alonso, though.
Breaking the record.
All-time Mets home run leader now.
I mean, how good was Darryl Strawberry? Like, people, I don't know if people realize, because I don't think we've seen a guy like that, right? Because Darryl he was so big and he was tall and he was lanky and he could do everything. He could steal bases. He was a good defender. And, even in his career, after everything that went through him, and he went to the Yankees and he played really good there as a DH and a guy that came up with some big hits. Like he really is.
World Series, right?
Yeah, won a World Series with them. So, I mean, that's a hell of an athlete, man. If you had to start from scratch and be like, hey, give me a guy that in his first couple of years, I mean, Daryl's definitely on that short list. The great Rich Hollenberg, at Rich Hollenberg on all social media platforms, richhollenberg.com. Go check it out today. All the information on how you can break in and break through if you're an aspiring sportscaster or journalist of any type. Some great pictures on there and a very in-depth website so you can find out what he's got going on and how you can take your game to the next level. You're the best, my friend. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, brother. Shameless plug. Monday, August 18th, there is a live Zoom event that we're doing.
Yeah, sorry.
Alfonso Ellis is going to be part of it. Justin Sua, who maybe Rays fans might be familiar with, he was on staff with them as their mental skills coach for about 5 years. Now he's the CEO of his own corporation, absolutely blowing up. They're going to be joining me, and it's open to everybody Monday night. You can find that information on socials also.
All right, sounds good. We'll definitely share that on our socials too and spread the word. LaFonso Ellis, L.A. Big P. Hanzo Ellis, heck of a player in the NBA as well and does a great job broadcasting too. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
All the best, Jay.
You too, pal. The one and only Rich Hollenberg. Listen, we mentioned this yesterday, and I think that's the theme of the show this week. Good people. Rich Hollenberg is another one of those people, just a good dude, fantastic husband and father. And I've told you guys this in the past as I've tried to spread my wings a little bit and do more on the broadcasting side, play-by-play. Rich was one of those guys that took time out of his day to be able to sit there and answer questions. And, man, my favorite quote from Jackie Robinson is, talking, and I always butcher this quote. It's my favorite quote. I always butcher it. You talk about your life and just the impact your life. Life is measured by the impact that it has on others, right? That's something that I know Rich, that's what he's about, his legacy and what he can do to help that next generation, not just the next generation of the children that live in his house, but also the broadcasters and these people that are really trying to work in a place where you have the best seat in the house. I always knew as a young kid, I wanted to be a broadcaster. I wanted to work in sports because I looked at my mom and dad. My mom is a lunch lady. My dad is a custodian who is also a baseball umpire and a basketball referee and sold uniforms to the mailman at 4:30 in the morning before they went out to their routes. I always knew that I wanted to do something with my life that I didn't want to wake up and dread going to work. That was the least of what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that whatever I was doing, and I was going to spend the majority of my life working, I wanted to do something I loved. I never wanted to dread getting up and going to my job. And Rich does such a great job of helping people find that next step and helping people find how they can improve. So, and we will go in from there. So, yeah, we'll for sure. But shout out to our guy, Rich Hollenberg. He's the man. He is the best. I will definitely send you that clip. But all right, guys, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Facebook. I'm everywhere. Like and subscribe. Some people are still saying it'll always be the Ice Palace to me. Damn it. And if you look, wow, we already have the switch over. This is from our pal Ed Encina. Check this out. It's already switched over from this morning. Benchmark International Arena. There you go. No more Amalie. It's Benchmark International Arena, as we like to call it, the bench. Going to the bench. Going to the bench to watch the game. And there we go. Mike on Twitter saying, "No, let's be real. It's the Ice Palace and will always be the Ice Palace, no matter how much some company pays the team to slap their name. That's fine. Do whatever you want to do." Carolina Hurricanes Tom Dundon, has agreed to buy the Portland Trail Blazers from the estate of Paul Giambi for a valuation of $4 billion. So the Portland Trail Blazers now being sold. There you go, buddy. Not the only news here in the Tampa Bay area, or when it comes to the sports world. I always like to check, see if certain news, Tampa Bay news is on national news. Nah, not always. Not always, my friends. Our pal Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com, is going to join us here momentarily, heading back to the house after Amalie Arena. Buccaneers, they are in Pittsburgh right now, practicing today, joint practice tomorrow, Saturday night, a game up against the Steelers. And when you look at this going forward, okay, Mecca Buka, Jalen McMillan, Garrett Green on punt return duty. This is from our friends at Pewter Report. Also part of the rotation is Ted Johnson, Rachaad White watching them. So he's watching them, but of course he is not practicing. What players are you watching this weekend up there in Pittsburgh? Of course, I want to hear from you. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. And if you want to contribute via the video chat, here is the link. And of course, just click on the link. There you go, StreamYard.com/HIX74J2CQQ. Click on that link and you join in on the conversation. Which players are you keeping an eye on this weekend in Pittsburgh? And, some reason I'm looking at a guy like Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving going to see some time on the field, and he's got to stay healthy this entire season. That's one thing that I want to see from him is staying healthy, get into that game, get out of that game in Pittsburgh. We know Rachaad White's not going to be playing. Shout out to our guy, David Terry. I want to see some more of Sean Tucker. Dude is a stud. I don't disagree with that at all. When you're looking at Sean Tucker, and could this be that opening of the door? Could this be that opening of, all right, Rachaad White, are you moving on from Rachaad White after this season? Is he going to try to go somewhere else? Because we know what the running back rooms are, they're so fickle, and guys that are starters or, first round draft picks in your fantasy football draft, I mean, just a couple years later, they're persona non grata, man. They're gone. They're out. You're looking for the next young workhorse that can tote the rock 200, 300 times. So if I'm Rachaad White, I wouldn't be so quick to going somewhere else. If you're at a place that you're comfortable with and it's a known commodity, and you can agree on the terms, and yeah. But this is an opportunity now for Sean Tucker to be able to step in and to show that he can do the things that Rachaad White does well. And that's the part of it that I think a lot of people are missing when it comes to Sean Tucker. And this is great. Greg DeCruz, thank you. Exactly what I was just about to say. Sean Tucker has to prove, and it's not just in the preseason, it's obviously in practice, and if he's going to get more carries and more snaps in the regular season. It's not about him proving he can run the football. We know that he can do that, and I think the Bucs know that he can do that too. What Sean Tucker has to prove is he has to prove that he can do what Rachaad White does well, and that's catching the ball out of the backfield and pass protect. Because we know we're not the pass protection. That's not Bucky Irving's thing. It's just not. And I watched it with my own eyes, and it's like, dude, you can't fault the guy, right? It's not for lack of effort. He's just not the biggest dude in the world. But that is something that Rachaad does well. And that's, when we were having this conversation last year, as the season went on, I said, wow, the running game might even be better next year because you have the two guys that are in there and in more skill appropriate roles where Bucky is more of the early down back and he can run the football. He just seems to run the football better, right? When it comes to Rachaad White, he's more of a direct runner. He's not more of the big cutback kind of guy. That's Bucky's thing. But Rachaad does a great job of catching the ball out of the backfield, and he does a great job of, picking up the blitzes. And that's what you want on third down when, most of the time you're probably throwing the football anyway. So I felt like going into this season, those skill appropriate traits for these guys, I think it might mean more success for both of those dudes individually. But what does Sean Tucker do, right? How does he show? Because if he can't block and he can't catch the ball out of the backfield, then we're like, damn, you have to have a guy like that. You got to protect Baker Mayfield, and especially with a guy like Tristan Wirfs being out, and you're going to probably have Cokeeft on that side to help out Charlie Heck. You're going to make sure that whoever's in there at that running back position on third down, that he is going to protect Baker Mayfield. So it's on Sean Tucker. Honest hammer, 1,000%, Jay. They'll let White heal. Let's let him play a few games and then trade him for sure. He's an unrestricted free agent after the season anyways. If not, then they're planning to re-sign him long-term. I wouldn't hate that because he's a great blocker and pass catcher. We need White. This is from Greg. If we want to win a Super Bowl, he's a very good insurance policy. I didn't know Rashad was 6'5". That's nuts. I don't know if he's definitely not 6'5". That was I think the graphics for WFLA in the first preseason game. They were way off. So he was definitely not 6'5". Everybody that was on the screen that day was 6'5". I'm like, damn, man, I've been around these guys. There ain't no way they're 6'5". Here's the thing, though, to Hammer's point. I'm not trading Rachaad White. I'm just in the NFL, to me, it doesn't ever really make sense to trade players unless you're getting back a really high draft pick. Because it's just not the same in the NFL. It's just not. It's not like baseball where you can trade a guy away and you're like, all right, well, you can get one player here and then 2 or 3 minor leaguers because you're understanding what the value is of those picks. And there's more of a, hey, hopefully this can develop down the line. There's no minor leagues in the NFL. And teams aren't trading draft picks because they don't have as many as you see in other sports. We won't count basketball, obviously, but obviously there's way more draft picks in the Major League draft and also the NHL. So if you're in the NFL, those draft picks are very valuable. So teams aren't so quick to get rid of them. And for a guy like Rachaad White who got beat out, you got to think if somebody else is out there, I mean, they're going to be like, well, he doesn't even start on the Bucs. So why would we want to trade a second-round pick for a guy like that? And would you really want to trade Rachaad White for a 6th-round pick or a 7th-round pick? I mean, not really. You want guys that can contribute and help your team this year. And again, one of my biggest concerns going into the season, shout out to Greg again. I've said this with Tom Krasnicki. I've said this with Pat and Aaron over on WDAE. One of my biggest concerns going into the 2025 season is Bucky Irving. He had 3 injuries last year, 3 different injuries last year. And this is a guy that didn't even get the lion's share of the carries last season. So now he's going to be your every single game starting running back. And it's a freaking tough league. He's going to take a lot of licks. I don't know if it's very smart to take guys out of that backfield. I think if the Buccaneers are going to be good this year, Josh Grizzard needs to do a better job than Liam Cohen did last year, getting all 3 running backs involved. And Liam said it to start the season, and I said it because, on the show with Zach last year, and Liam Cohen says it's damn near impossible to find touches for 3 running backs. And it's like, okay, well, this is what you get paid to do. So you got to do it. And when you look at this team and you look at the seasons now, it's 17 games. And you look at a guy like Sean Tucker and you have a really talented back there. You have to use him. You got to keep some of this heat off of Bucky Irving. You need Bucky to be healthy in week 17, not week 4. Let the big guy eat. Let Sean Tucker eat, right? Balance it out. And this is why I think if you're the Buccaneers, playing well in the first half is going to be big. Playing well in the first half, getting leads, running the football, and letting Sean Tucker go to work. I want to see a lot of Sean Tucker early on. Give me a lot of Sean Tucker early on. If he's playing a good chunk and getting a lot of these carries in the fourth quarter, it means that they're winning, and it means that it's going to help Bucky down the stretch. Now, that may hurt you when it comes to fantasy football, but I don't think the Buccaneers are really concerned with that. They're trying to win the Super Bowl. And the way that they're going to do that is by staying healthy. You already know going into the season that Chris Godwin's going to be out. Tristan Wirfs is going to be out. So you have to be intelligent going forward on making sure that everybody else stays healthy. Erik Erlendsson texted me. Just take your time, buddy. We got time. So that's one guy I'm keeping an eye on. The other one, I'm looking at Chris Braswell. when you look at what Chris Braswell did not do in that preseason opener against the Tennessee Titans, listen, the more games like that, and the more you start going down the road and he's not contributing and not getting to the passer, it's hard not to think that the comparisons to JTS are going to start rearing their ugly heads. He's got to step it up in a big way. Also, Cody Mauch and that offensive line. But I didn't like some of the reps that I saw from Cody Mauch against some of the Tennessee interior defensive lines. And they don't have many strengths, but if you look at Jeffrey Simmons and the crew, I think that may be one of them. He's got to take a step forward this year, Cody Mauch. And we had this conversation with, who was it? Was it Greg Allman? I think it was Greg Allman yesterday. Yeah, Greg Allman. One thing that doesn't get talked about nearly enough when it comes to sports is how much better or worse a team gets based on the players that they have, right? How is Graham Barton going to take a step forward, right? How are guys like Jalen McMillan going to take a step forward in year 2? Chris Braswell, who's going to inevitably take a step back because it's not all, rainbows and butterflies. Everybody gets better every season. No, you don't know. You don't know. And when Greg brings up the point, were you surprised at Jason Light's honest comments about Devin White? He's still an active player. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this on the show yesterday. I was a little surprised because the guy, it was very transparent and honest when it came to Jason Light. And it wasn't just, we made a mistake there. It was, he cared a lot about himself and it was all about him. I thought was a little bit more transparent than what you would see from a current general manager. But if you're not lying and you're not worried about burning bridges and, Devin White's never walking through those doors again. He's never going to come back and play for the Buccaneers. But, I mean, you love the honesty. And I think it's one of the signs of maturity from Jason Light. And that's why I get so miffed when people say, this guy will never get any better or this coach will never get any better. All right, the percentages may be low, but it doesn't mean you can't change. It doesn't mean that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You sure as hell can. Look at Todd Bowles. Just look at him. This is a guy that learned over the last couple of years, hey, I got to change up my defensive staff, guys that I've been with for years. Hey, I got to bring in a guy that can help me manage the clock. Okay. Hey, I got to be able to live with a quarterback that maybe turns the football over a little bit more than I like, even though me being a defensive coach. Tom Coughlin years ago, changing his ways with the New York Football Giants, understanding that he had to put more of the onus on the players to be able to police themselves. He needs to use some of the veteran guys as a conduit to be able to communicate with the whole team. These are guys that have been in the league for decades, and they made adjustments. We'll see with a guy like Bill Belichick now that he's coaching in college. He's going to have to make adjustments, and if he doesn't, he's going to perish. He'll be done. You have to adapt or you're going to die. That's just the way it goes, not just in sports, but in life as a whole. You have to adapt. Also, another guy I'm keeping an eye on, I am looking at, of course, Shiloh Sanders. How much of an opportunity is he going to get against Pittsburgh? What is he going to do in the joint practices? Listen, let me tell you something. And we're going to have John Sable on tomorrow, my pal from Cleveland, to give us the update on Shedeur Sanders. You guys know that I have been rooting for Shiloh and rooting for Shedeur. I just, I wanted to see the kids do well. But and warning you, and you see it a lot more on Facebook than anywhere else. Guys, there is some incorrect information that has been put out about Shiloh Sanders. And it's just small things. It's nothing great. It's nothing like, oh my God, they're making a mountain out of a molehill. But it's just certain things that are being said that there's just no way that these people would know. Well, he's doing this. He's saying, he broke up a bunch of passes from Baker Mayfield. And, he's a fan favorite within the locker room and with his teammates. First off, you're not a fan favorite in the locker room with your teammates because they're not fans. The other thing is people are saying like, he's doing this in practices that aren't even open to the public. So how the hell do you know what's going on? Shiloh is a guy that's at the bottom of the depth chart. Some of the things he does, especially one-on-one, I think he does a pretty good job. But there are guys ahead of him, a lot, and guys that are making plays, guys like J.J. Roberts, and then also guys that have been here a while. guys that have been in the system with Todd Bowles and the crew. And that doesn't count the starters in Tyke Smith, and also a guy like Antoine Winfield Jr., and also a guy like Christian Izzy, who can play multiple positions. Listen, it's not a shot at Shiloh. It's just where he is. He's on a damn good football team. Maybe somewhere else he'd be getting more reps, and maybe he'd have an opportunity to make the 53. But, man, he's down there on the depth chart. And it's not personal. The guys seem to like him. But I'm not going to sit here and echo some of the sentiments that I've been seeing online. Like, you guys don't know. Like, you legitimately don't know. So don't believe everything that you see on the internet. Believe the people that are there all the time. The guys at Pewter Report, Rick Stroud, Greg Allman, Joe Bucks fan. Those are the kind of people that are there. Those are the kind of people that you need to trust. Speaking of trust, of course we got to trust my guy over at The Honest Hammer. Listen, if you are going to get any kind of work done, you want to be able to go to a place or deal with a company that is just like you, Tampa Bay sports fan, and you trust them. 813-244-0956, Honest Hammer, custom builders, residential, commercial needs. They've got you covered. Listen, you get a discount if you mention that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Can't beat that. Pre-engineered metal buildings, bathroom and kitchen remodels, new and commercial construction. How about the interior and structural renovations? They've got you covered. 813-244-0956, general contractor company, CGC 153-116. Go to thehonesthammer.com for all of your questions, comments, concerns. They've got you covered. Shoot them an email as well at thehonesthammer@gmail.com. You want to know what kind of guy Russ is and the family over there at Honest Hammer? They had tickets last week to the Buccaneers game. They didn't sell them. They didn't give them to friends and family. Russ reached out to me and said, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to be able to hand these out and give these to a big fan of the Jay Recher podcast. And our guy Chan Leonard was able to come down from Tallahassee and went to the game and had an absolute blast. You want to be around good people and good companies. Again, 813-244-0956, Honest Hammer Custom Builders. Go check them out and tell them, of course, you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. A big fan of everything that they've got going on. Really, really good people overall. And if you just have questions, right? Hey, we're looking for a kitchen remodel. We're looking for a bathroom remodel. Russ, what direction can you point me in to make sure that I'm making the right choice? 813-244-0956. I'm actually going to go out to one of their jobs on Friday and see what the job is all about. And there you go. See you Friday at our custom home that's in progress. And I'll be out there, and I'm going to be taking some pictures and some videos and posting it on my social media so you guys can see what they've got going on. And shout out to Chan, later skater. I had a great time at Honest Hammer. Gives their industry a really good name. And that's what it's about here on the podcast, man. We are a show for the Tampa Bay sports fan, for the people right here, baby. What can we do to make your life better? And that's the way to do it right there. And big shout out again to Honest Hammer and Chan, everybody involved. And make sure you guys are following me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube. And you can help us out with the super chats as well. Every single super chat and sponsor certainly helps so we can keep this train rolling forward. All right, let's bring him in. He is the man in front of 1,000 spoons. The one and only Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you again. Been about a month or so since we talked.
Yeah, buddy. And yeah, I like that shirt, man. You're all jazzed up for the big announcement today, weren't you?
Hey, as I was telling the boys here at the house, when the mayor shows up at a press conference, you got to kind of look a little like you know what you're doing. I guess I fooled some more people.
Did you have any idea what this was? We kind of had an idea. This is kind of what the big announcement was, right?
Yeah, I kind of knew it was. Look, Amaly's naming rights were up, right? The 10-year contract was coming to an end. I'd heard that they probably didn't want to renew the naming rights deal, so we knew that this was kind of coming. It felt like it was a lot of pomp and circumstance for a name change, but I guess when you have new investors, if you want to say that, and partners with the Lightning, and they're a Tampa-based company, They kind of brought it. It's 813 day, right? Like it's August 13th. So they kind of tied all of that in together. But it was a for lack of a better term, a dog and pony show. But you're welcoming new people to the Lightning partnership. You want to kind of make it look great for them. And they, as the Lightning do with everything they do, they certainly did put on a good show today.
Yeah, that's what they do. I mean, that's, if there's one thing the Lightning are able to do, they make sure that they put their best foot forward and make all their partners feel welcome and important. And at the end of the day, I know people are getting bent out of shape, like, oh, it's a long name. What are we going to do? At the end of the day, Double E, we're going to – the most important thing is that the Lightning score more goals than the other team that they go against. I mean, this isn't going to change any of the day-to-day operations.
No, it's just going to take time to get used to, we called it Amalie for so long and the Forum before that. And, so it's just a new name that we got to get used to it. I understand that from a fan standpoint, you want to identify with the building. Now that's our home arena. And, it's a word salad or a letter salad. Really. It's only 2 words, but it's kind of a letter salad, a syllable salad, if you will, to spit out benchmark international. But, building name is a building name. It's a revenue stream for the team, which means they get to pay their players and their employees as well. But it's a business partner, and the Lightning are a business at the end of the day, and it's a revenue stream for them. So I don't put too much stock into it. Hey, at least it's not the lawyer referral firm that put their name on the amphitheater, right? That was a mouthful. Yeah,
no, we're good on that one for sure. All right, let's talk a little hockey going forward as we get closer to the preseason. It's kind of been a little quiet on the home front here. Any surprise that it's been like this since the prospect development camp? This really is kind of the calm before the storm, isn't it?
It is, and as we talked back on July 1st, I didn't anticipate the Lightning being very busy, and they weren't. Right, they bring in Pontus Holmberg. A couple of minor signings here and there, but nothing major. And, August is the dead month really in hockey. Usually the only thing that kind of is on the radar is arbitration cases, but, arbitration cases rarely reach arbitration. And in fact, none of the players who filed actually got to an arbitration case. They were all agreed on new deals before it got to the arbitration date. So it's on the hockey calendar. This is probably the time when a lot of general managers probably head over to the Hinlinska Gretzky Cup, which is taking place right now over in Europe. They're probably taking that in and then, taking a little bit of a vacation and, leading up to the start of camp, which for the Lightning will be sometime around September 12th or so, I think is 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere in that time range is when I anticipate that they will open. So yeah, it's a quiet time of year on the NHL schedule, and we just kind of count down the days until training camp.
All right, before we know, and this is and we see this way too early mock drafts and way too early. Let's do a way too early line projection with Double E Erik Erlendsson. How do we think that the 4 lines and the 3 defensive pairs are going to line up opening night?
Well, no reason to think that Gensel, Point, and Kucherov won't be the top line as it was for a good portion of last year. I think the biggest question mark in the lineup is who plays second line right wing with Cirelli and Hagel. Right. I would have to think that Oliver Bjorkstrand probably gets that opportunity. Maybe Gage Gonsalves. Gonsalves certainly showed at times last year, at the end of the year, that he could fit in with top players. Remember, he got an opportunity to play with Point and Kucherov for a couple of games and didn't look out of place. That's always an important thing, especially for a young player playing with 2 all-stars like those and not defer to them as much. But I would think that Bjorkstrand probably has the inside track on that opportunity because, we talked about it a lot when that deal went down last year. We thought, okay, this is the guy that they want to play with Cirelli and Hagel. Didn't really get to see him in that role. I think they practiced there. I'm not sure if they ever actually started a game as a line together, those 3. But I think that when we get to training camp, we'll at least see that given a look in one of the preseason games for the second line. The third line, Nick Paul will probably be the center there. I think if Bjorkstrand or Gonsalves, whoever doesn't play second line, will play third line right wing. I'm drawing a blank on who would be left wing on that side.
Kiki?
Could be Geeky. Yeah, it could be Connor Geeky.
I feel like he's a guy that when I'm watching and I'm looking at some of these lines, and he has options, doesn't he? So they're like, all right, well, go send him down, and I'm just like, man, like he started the season up, and then when he got called back up, I think he asserted himself well, and I don't know, man, like I think the third line and we saw it, I think in flashes last year, was when you have Paul with Geeky and Gonsalves. That's got some size. It's got some skill. I mean, it seems like they're defensively responsible. I mean, everybody's been talking about what can we do to get the third line back to prominence. I mean, to me, that seems like the third line, but it seems like there's a little bit of a hesitation there.
Well, because you're still talking about a player, at least last year, making a jump straight from junior to the NHL. Right. And certainly players can't do it. It's not an overwhelming situation. But I think you saw with Connor as the season went on, his effectiveness was getting less and less. And the worst thing you want to do is kill a player's confidence and make him question whether he can play or how long it's going to take him to learn. So I think he handled the demotion to Syracuse as well as any 20-year-old in his situation would do, right? And, he kind of formed that relationship with Connor Sheary while he was down there. And Connor Sheary, he praised Sheary a lot when he came back up and how much Connor Sheary helped him kind of understand. And he went down and found his game. He scored a number of goals for Syracuse while he was there. So he found his offensive game, and he did. He looked like a different player, looked like a more confident player when he came back up. So, yeah, and I think, Gonsalves, Paul, and Geeky did play a bit together down the stretch the regular season. And again, looked like they could be a good complementary third line. Chief talks about that all the time, right? You have to have that third line that can be a difference maker. And, you've got some offensive skill there with Gonsalves and Geeky, and Paul fills the middle very well. He hasn't, he gets that shot off. It's the one thing about Nick Paul that he's worked on. And I remember talking to him about it last year. When he gets in that, that middle slot area, his ability to get the puck off his stick quickly is something that he's worked on. And, that's why he scored 23, 24 goals last season. And then, the fourth line will obviously be Gord, Holmberg, and Gergensons will probably be your fourth line to work things out. And then we'll see where guys kind of fill in. Where's Dylan Duke fit in? Does he kind of get an opportunity? Jack Finley's been a guy that, certainly Julian talked a lot about in the summer, and him getting the chance because he brings that one element that they really don't have in their forward group, right? And that's size at 6'6", and the type of game that he can play. Right-handed. And he's had injuries that have held him back. It seems, I think all 3 years, his first 3 years, he's had some sort of an injury that's kind of kept him out long-term, right? And he didn't even start the season last year until December. I think when he made his debut with Tampa Bay up in Boston, I think he'd only been back a couple of weeks for the crunch. So, he has to, get past some of these injury things that have kind of held back his development, but you like a lot of things about what he could do in a lower line role. So we'll see what kind of an opportunity that he's going to get in training camp, come this season. As far as defense.
Hold on. Before we go on, Mitchell Chaffee still with his team, right?
Yeah.
Another guy.
Yeah, forgot about Mitch, yeah.
I thought he played pretty well in the postseason. Like, he was one of the few guys that played well in the postseason because he plays that physical game. And what about Pelletier as well?
Yeah, Pelletier is an interesting one, right? Like, he's kind of this
skill, man.
He's a reclamation project in a lot of ways, and certainly the Lightning have a good track record for players in this situation. I mean, Yanni Gorda is kind of the poster boy,
right?
For somebody who was basically cast away by the San Jose. When Jonathan Marchessault was cast away by Columbus, they brought him in. Carter Verhaeghe. I mean, they have a pretty good history of doing this. And the interesting thing with him, obviously a former first-round draft pick, smaller guy, but very skilled guy. And, because you always take that risk. Do you want to try and put him on waivers and get him down to Syracuse and play some games, right? Because he is signed to a 3-year deal. So they do have a commitment to him.
Yeah, there's a plan.
And a belief, right? And a belief that they can kind of, get him to the level that he can be at, that they think he can get to, certainly based on his pedigree of being a first-round draft pick. So he is an interesting guy to kind of keep an eye on. as we head to training camp and see where he kind of fits in. And you're right, I forgot about Mitchell Chafee. It seems like as soon as Bjorkstrand came along, he was kind of the forgotten guy, but he did. He kind of played more of a physical game, which I think is what they asked him to do, because he does have that little bit of a solid body size. Right, he can kind of use that as a power forward type of player. He's not a big time goal scorer, but he scored 11, 12 goals last year.
And a
which
bunch
is
on
not
the power play too.
Yeah, so he's a right-handed shot, right? They kind of tried him in the bumper position a couple times on the power play, because even though the power play finished, I think, 5th in the league, I think we can all agree it wasn't very consistent in the way that it performed last year as they tried to figure out life without Steven Stamkos on that top power play. So Peltier though is the guy that's kind of intriguing, right? Because they believe in him and they have a history of being able to do this with players and get them to a different level. So he will definitely be a good one to kind of keep an eye on.
All right, now let's go to the blue. Let's go to the blue line now.
Obviously, Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonough, your top two on the left side. Erik Chernak will be paired again with McDonough. That's an easy one to figure out. We assume J.J. Moser will stay on the right side on a consistent basis with Victor Hedman. And then we get to, what was kind of a black hole in a lot of ways last year. Who plays third line pairing? Obviously Emil Lilleberg continues to take strides and show some growth. I know a lot of fans don't like the way that he played, but you saw the growth in his game last year. And he can be a physical player. We've seen that. He kind of peeled back a little bit as he kind of learned to play defense better last year. I think maybe we'll see that element kind of return to his game. And then the interesting thing is now what do you do with Darren Radish? Radish last year at the start of the year, he was kind of the odd man out.
Yeah, scratched.
Right? He was the guy that was scratched quite a bit at the beginning of the season. But then when Moser got hurt and he played more, that's the best he's ever played.
Yeah.
Right? And not even just the points. He set career highs in points and assists. But I think his two-way game improved too. So even for a guy who's 29 years old, he showed growth in his game. And where does he fit in? We know the chemistry that Lilleberg and Max Crozier certainly had both at Syracuse, and then when they played together a couple of years ago here at the NHL level, how they were able to play. Crozier is, he's no longer waiver exempt. So he'll still be here, a defenseman, and we'll kind of see. Obviously, went 7-11 quite a bit down the stretch last year. It's something that John Cooper does like to use. But now you've got this. I don't want to call it a gluttony of forwards, but you have these extra forwards. You just talked about 14 different guys. I don't think they're going to carry 14 forwards.
No, but I also don't think they're going to do 11 and 7 as much as they did last year either.
Right, and that's kind of the thing, right? But with the defenseman that you have, maybe you're better suited towards that. Right. It's an interesting situation for the coaching staff to have, in how they handle the roster and how the playing time. And I mean, at the end of the day, players always dictate ice time and playing time, right? With practice habits and how they play in games and how they perform. And, all that kind of dictates in the decision-making process for coaches. But if everybody's on a level playing field, it is an interesting sort of situation that the coaching staff is going to have to deal with, because you don't want younger players sitting. And Max Crozier is still a young player. Emil Lilleberg is still a young player, right? You don't want to keep them out for too long. So how they handle the bottom three guys on defense will be interesting this year. And if last year was any insight, basically Crozier is going to come in and replace Nick Perbix. So it's kind of a same situation they had as last year, because at the beginning of last year, they did go, the typical 12-6 alignment more often. It wasn't until the second half of the year that they went 11-7 more often. So, the season will dictate that. Players will dictate that, but something to kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this or not, but it seemed like I'm seeing this at a bunch of different places. They're talking about a possible trade of Ryan McDonough. I just think it's weird that you would go through all those hoops to bring him back and then trade him out again. Where does that stem from? Is there any possibility that they move on from 27?
I can't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked so much last year about what his return meant to the defensive core. and taking some of the pressure off of Victor Hedman and some of the responsibilities off of Victor Hedman, and, tapping back into Erik Chernak's strengths, because Erik Chernak was not the same player 2 years ago without Ryan McDonagh as he was this past year with Ryan McDonagh back. I think Ryan McDonagh is still performing at the top level. I guess the only thing that people might look towards is the fact that he's going into his final year of his contract, right? Is there an extension? Yeah. But that's how a lot of people think. Well, he's in the last year of his deal. If he's not going to be extended, you might as well trade him, right? And I guess maybe that's where it's coming from. But we also know with this organization, it doesn't usually work that way, right? No. They are in it to win it. And that is their mentality again this year. They are all in, even though I know everybody says, they've been knocked out in the first round 3 straight years. Yeah, it's hockey. That does happen. We're spoiled here. We're used to seeing this team go on very long runs. We haven't had it the last 2 years, but they are in it to win it. And they believe that they are a team that can contend and win a Stanley Cup with the roster that they have. The fact that they didn't make many moves in the offseason kind of gives you the idea of what they think of this roster and how effective it can be. It is. These trade situations with McDonagh have kind of come out of the blue a little bit. But again, it's the slow start of the slow time of the season. Sometimes people just like to throw stuff out.
You got that right, buddy. Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Follow him on Twitter, Erik_Erlendsson. That's a K, not a C, 2 S's after the D. Signed up for lightninginsider.com today. Use that promo code JNC, get $10 off, not just this season, but every recurring season. I guess we're still in season. What do we got coming
Always
up on
Lightning?
Lightning? Yeah, that's right. So I guess a story on the website coming up about the new name, correct?
Yeah. And again, for people who didn't see it, they did make a big deal out of it. Sarah Walsh was the MC of the event. Obviously, she's a big name, NFL Network and TNT and all the work that she does to find time on her busy schedule at this time of the year to come out and spend some time there. The mayor was there. Ken Hagen was there. The new owner, Doug Ostrover. That's really the first time we've kind of seen Doug out in the public eye in a public speaking situation like he was. So he spoke today as well. The name is just the name. The one thing that I kind of took out of the announcement today is that, Benchmark kind of has the same philosophical, philanthropic ideas as Jeff Vidic, right? And they talked about that they want to, kind of be aligned with the way that the Lightning ownership, kind of deals with that. And certainly the community hero program that the Viniks have put on for years and everything that they've done for the community, they want to continue to be a part of that. And that's a big part of why they wanted to make this deal with the Lightning, is because they are a local based mergers and acquisitions. Please don't ask me what that is, because I have no idea what mergers and acquisitions are. It's a lot of money involved. That's all I know.
It's buying and selling companies. And, if you're a person that's looking to buy a company, they can help you. If you're a person that's looking to sell a big Fortune 500 company, or you're trying to merge with another company, they can help you out in all those different things. I read as much as I could. It's definitely above my pay scale. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm just a sports writer. I don't want to get into that. But
that's why we talk Lightning hockey, not M&A. Listen, when I looked it up originally, they were like, "Oh yeah, we handle all the big M&A." I'm like, "What the hell is an M&A?" I thought it was macaroni and avocado, and I was like, "No, mergers and acquisitions." I was like, "Oh shit, okay."
Even the CEO of Benchmark said, "I've been in it for 40 years. I still don't know what it means."
There you go. So we shouldn't feel so bad. But
I mean, at the end of the day, from a fan perspective, like, it doesn't really matter what the name on the building is. It's a revenue stream for the team. That's how I look at it. And look, I've certainly seen plenty of mentions in my social media that people don't like it. It's too long and everything. I get it, but it's like anything else in life. We don't like change sometimes. It just takes a while to get used to the change, and then the change becomes the normal until it's changed again.
You got that right, buddy. All right, he's the one and only Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Double E, always appreciate your time, brother. We'll catch up soon.
All right, be well.
Thanks, buddy. The man of 10,000 spoons, the best. Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Again, sign up today. Use that promo code. And look who joined us, Deandra Lou, tuning in from the Hockey News. She does a fantastic job. Miss you guys. Miss you too, D. Happy belated birthday. I know she had a birthday last week or a couple weeks ago. Look at my man Josh watching as well. M&A equals Sharks. Josh does a lot of finance stuff too, so he can help me out with that. But again, I thought M&A stood for macaroni and avocado. I didn't know it meant mergers and acquisitions. Again, we're hockey people, man. That's all we talk about. But not all we talk about on the program. I just threw this out there because I didn't know what type of response. And our pal Josh Capel from Pewter Report has already said, yes, I will be tuning in tonight. 7:00, the New Heights podcast. Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift on tonight. And just the mere mention that she was going to be on the podcast has turned the world upside down. I love talking about things like this. You know why? Because it pisses people off. People get so bent out of shape. I don't want to talk about Taylor Swift. Stay out of my football. Like, oh my gosh. When you're done shaking your fist at a cloud, all right, come back down, right? Stop being so angry at life. And here's the thing. Just don't watch it. Don't watch it if it's that big of a deal. I'm more just fascinated with just the intrigue and the attention that it's getting from the sports world and how many people that I follow on social media that are just jacked up about watching Taylor Swift on New Heights tonight at 7 p.m. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to see how many downloads that they get. Benny, if you can get Taylor Swift to plug the Recher podcast on New Heights, that would be hilarious. Just get like a sign in the background. But it's cool, man. It's cool. Like, I'm all for, putting other people on and everybody being happy and just, unique. I mean, listen, she's a sports fan, right? Her dad's a big time sports fan. So I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why they've gotten together and they've been together. Obviously they know what it's like, one being a superstar when it comes to the music sides, the other guy being a future first ballot Hall of Famer, and just understanding the schedules and the discipline and the scheduling. There's a lot of, all right, you have to be understanding and you got to, realize that the prioritization of the relationship, it's an effort on both sides, right? It's an effort on both sides if they're going to make this work. And you got to be honest out there, even if you're the most pessimistic person, I'm sure people out there are surprised that they're still together. To me, I mean, it is what it is. I don't know what to believe anymore, right? I don't get the wool pulled over my eyes very often, but good for them. As long as they're happy and they bring out, the best in each other, hey, whatever, man. Who am I to judge, right? I do a lot of things in this world that people may not like and may not agree with, but listen, good for Taylor, good for Travis Kelce. I know Jason Kelce's not a Hall of Fame. Maybe, he may be, but I was talking about Travis. Dolan, see, there's Dolan. Roll of my eyes, definitely not watching that. Come on, Dolan. See, there's certain people that I'm going to try to press and be like, you got to watch this. Dolan, come on, buddy. UPS, your route's going to be done. You're going to go home. You're going to take a shower, and then 7 p.m. is going to roll around, and you're going to watch Wheel of Fortune in the background, and then on your phone, you're going to be watching the New Heights podcast. I know you, Dolan. You're definitely going to do it. Dolan's like, not a freaking chance. Not doing it. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. We got some great guests coming on the next couple of days. We have Aaron Guillen from the Tampa Bay Rowdies joining us tomorrow. We've got John Sable from up there in Cleveland joining us tomorrow. On Friday, we have Ira Kaufman from Joe Bucks Fan joining us, as well as Tim Benz up there in Pittsburgh. We got so many things going on here in the Recher podcast. So we've got a couple irons in the fire to see who else we can get on the program as well. A big thank you to Erik Erlendsson for joining us, as well as our first guest today, Rich Hollenberg. He is the best. Really, really good stuff. Follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Follow me there. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Every single like and subscription. Oh, and I didn't mention this before. How about our guy, Chan Leonard? Later Skater, almost forgot. Jay is a stand-up man and deserves our support. Thank you so much for the super chat. Whatever you guys can do to support, please do. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can do. And I wanted to mention something else as well. With Deandra Lou joining us on, just joining us in the chat here. Deandra does such a great job with the hockey news, and she's really, like, over the last couple of years has become one of the main voices when it comes to the Tampa Bay Lightning in our area. So make sure you support Deandra. Follow her on all social media platforms and, read her stuff on the hockey news. I mentioned it when we talk about the Tampa Bay Times with Ed Encina and Lightning Insider, of course, with Erik Erlendsson, but Deandra really has taken her game to the next level. And, it's really cool to see her do her thing. And she just She asks a lot of great questions, and the articles that she writes, it isn't just the same mundane stuff. She's really, just the level. It's really cool to see somebody that is one of your colleagues that is just crushing it. So shout out to Deandra Lou, and make sure you follow her and the folks over there at the Hockey News. Deandra getting a ton of new follows. Hopefully, again, go follow Deandra Lou right now. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. I love you all. Make sure you follow me on social media, and then we'll go from there. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher Podcast. I'm out. Peace out.